everyone, this is Brit's Best, and today we're going to be making savory souffles. I'm going to be making a potato, bacon, and leek souffle. So we're going to start out today with 3 strips of bacon. I started them in a dry pan. I just cut them up into little pieces. We're going to render the fat, and then we're going to cook our potatoes and leeks in the bacon grease. So it should take about 6 to 8 minutes for the bacon to completely render. Okay, so while my bacon is rendering, I'm going to cut up my leeks. So I have 2 leeks. These are pretty small. So if you had these are like really small. So if you had a normal size leek, you would probably just use one. You only want to use the white and the light green parts. That's why I'm cutting off the tops of the leek. You just do it at an angle like that. And you're going to just discard the tops, and you don't want this part either. So leeks have a lot of dirt in them, or they can, so you need to make sure you clean them really well. So what you do is just chop them like that, and then right down the middle. And then see all the layers? You need to clean out all these layers to make sure there's no sand or dirt in them. Alright, so how you're going to cut up your leeks is just in slices like this. And then when they cook in the bacon grease, they're going to break up into smaller pieces like that. Okay, so our bacon is done. What I'm going to do now is just put it out on a paper towel to drain. And now we can add our leeks and begin cooking them. So the leeks need to cook in the bacon grease just before we add the potatoes, just to get them going. The leeks are our onions, basically, in any other dish. So while our leeks are cooking on a medium-low heat, we're going to chop up our potatoes. So I have Yukon Gold potatoes. I rinse them really well in water. I don't like to peel them. I like the skin on them. It makes them more rustic and good-looking, I think. So I'm going to chop these pretty small. So as you can see, like, my squares are pretty small because they're going to be going in the souffle dish, so you don't want a big hunk of potato. You want it all to meld nicely. Okay, so I'm going to continue chopping my potatoes. I have 3 Yukon Gold potatoes, and we're going to add them to the leeks when I'm done chopping them. Okay, so I'm cooking my potatoes and my leeks together. I'm going to add some salt, probably about a teaspoon, and then some pepper. The bacon grease is already going to be salty, so that's why we're not adding too much salt yet. We're going to let this cook and then see how it tastes and see if we need to add some more salt in a few minutes. So our potatoes and leeks have been cooking for about 5 minutes. What I'm going to do to get them to finish up a little quicker for me is put a lid on. They're going to steam up. They're cooking on medium heat, and they're going to cook for probably another 15 minutes till the potatoes are softened and done. Okay, so our potatoes should be done. We've been cooking for about 20 minutes on medium heat. And the way I tell if the potatoes are done is I taste them to make sure that they're soft enough. And to make sure they're good and they're great. So we're going to turn off our heat, put our lid in the sink, and take these off the heat so that they cool. Okay, so I've added our bacon back to our mixture just to heat it up a little bit since it's been sitting and it's probably cool. So now I have 2 cups of milk. I use whole milk when I do this recipe. It'll make it creamier and thicker. And we're also going to melt 2 tablespoons of butter, which I have in this pan. Okay, so for our roux mixture, we need to get the egg yolks and the egg whites separated. We're going to whip the egg whites later and then fold them into the souffle. So I have 4 egg yolks and 5 egg whites, and this is my 6th egg white. You need a total of 5 yolks and 6 whites. Okay, so for our roux, I have my 2 tablespoons of butter that are melted, and now I'm going to add 6 tablespoons of flour. So you just dump it all right in. You're going to start with a wooden spoon on medium heat until all of the flour is absorbed and cooked through, so there isn't any more of that raw flour taste. Okay, so my roux, as you can see, isn't really much of a roux. So what I'm going to do is add some more butter to get the mixture closer to the consistency that I want. So I add about another tablespoon of butter. Just to let that melt down into the roux. The roux should be like goop. Like, it shouldn't be like crumbly like this. This isn't right. So just let this melt a little bit. And just continue stirring with the wooden spoon until the butter is melted. So see, if your roux isn't perfect, no big deal. Add some more of the opposite ingredient and it should be just fine. See how it's more turning into like kind of a paste instead of like, whereas before it was all crumbly? This is the consistency you want. Like, it's like a paste. So that's closer to what it should be. So you can see all the flour is absorbed into the butter. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and add our milk. Our milk is hot, it's scalded, it's right below the boiling point. So, change hands. We're going to pour in our milk slowly. And we're going to switch to a whisk. And just whisk it good until all of your milk has been added to the roux mixture. And it's not a big deal, like you can see my roux is like all in clumps. It's okay, it will incorporate once we finish whisking. So just keep whisking in the roux mixture into the milk. Your heat should be medium. Alright, so you can see it's starting to turn into like a paste. That's what you want. We're going to take off the heat and continue whisking. And what we're going to do, one at a time, is add our egg yolks. So one of mine kind of broke apart, so it'll just get incorporated with the others as we go. You want to make sure you do this off the heat though, so you don't cook the yolk and scramble it into the roux mixture. Okay, so this is my last egg yolk. Just going to mix it in. As you can see, my mixture has loosened up. It's still pretty stiff and pasty. The eggs will calm that down. Okay, I'm going to turn the heat on low and I'm going to add some cheese. This is Gruyere cheese. I'm going to add about half of it to this mixture. This is 1.5 cups of cheese. Well, a little bit more than half, like 3/4. And this is going to fold into the mixture and it's going to be nice and cheesy. I just put it back on the heat just so the cheese would melt nicely into the mixture. Okay, so now that our cheese has incorporated into our mixture, we're going to add the potato, leek, and bacon mixture. So it's nicely incorporated. So we're just gonna set this aside, let it cool down, and we're gonna whip our egg whites. Okay, so now we're gonna whip our egg whites. So I have my egg whites from before. There's 6 of them. So we're just gonna pour these right into my KitchenAid bowl and use my whisk attachment. If you don't have a KitchenAid, no problem, you can use a hand mixer. Or if you really wanna get rustic, you can use a whisk and whisk the egg whites. That's a lot of work, makes me tired, so we're just gonna use my KitchenAid. So start slow. Put it on about 6, let them go a little bit. And now ramp it up to full speed. Okay, so our egg white should be done. They should hold a peak, so you can see there's peaks and see, like that. I have added some more salt and pepper to our potato and cheese and egg mixture. So we're just going to incorporate that in. I tasted it, decided that it needed a little bit more flavor. Okay, so I'm going to dump our mixture into a bowl so I can fold in our egg whites and incorporate them. So we're only going to use half the egg whites. So I just plop them in there. You want to make sure, you want to be careful with them to make sure you don't deflate them. So that's half. And then the way I fold is, some people fold from the middle and just scoop it around. I kind of fold like this from the outside and go in. Okay, so I finished folding in my egg whites. You can see it's still pretty light colored. You can still see a little bit of the white throughout the mixture, but that's fine, that's what you want. Okay, so for your souffle dishes, you can either put this in one big souffle, or I have little individual ones. Really the only requirement for a souffle dish is that it has straight sides. Like you can see this ramekin, it like bends out at the top. This won't work for a souffle. It needs to have a straight side like these do. So these are buttered and are dusted with parmesan. Alright, so I filled up my ramekins. This is enough for 3 2-cup ramekins. If you have one whole ramekin, it will fill a 2-quart souffle dish. So what I'm going to do now is just top them with a little bit more gruyere. And also a little bit more parmesan. Make them good and cheesy. So I popped my ramekins into my oven. It's at 450. They will bake for 35 to 40 minutes. So hopefully they're puffed in nice when they come out. Okay, so it's been 35 minutes and I have not peeked. It's been hard. But here we go. We're going to see if they are done and good. Oh! Look at them. They're so cheesy and bubbly. Oh, they're beautiful. Now you need to serve them immediately because they'll start to fall right away. Okay, so you can see it's nice and crusty on top and it's nice and fluffy in the middle. So we're going to try a bite. So good. So our Savory Souffle is delicious. So I know souffles are something that people are kind of intimidated to make, but you can see that it's lots of steps, but it's easy and it's totally doable at home. So I hope that you give us a try. Thanks so much for watching.